I want to encourage you to think about who you are walking the gauntlet with. Because when we are on the gauntlet and we already have that mindset of the gauntlet can be exhausting, I can be spread thin, but I also know that this is a beautiful process that's going to have a wonderful outcome.
If you're not conscious about your investment strategy, you won't end up where you want to be, not financially or as a human. On this show, we interview highly successful investors and share how they overcame limitations to become unstoppable forces of success. If you're ready to learn what it is to be a conscious investor so you can end up where you want, keep listening.
Conscious investor, we're not going to go through life unscathed. We are going to face trials, tribulations, happiness, joy. We're going to have the gamut. And that's why today I want to talk with you about walking life's gauntlet with confidence. Because doesn't life feel that way so often? It just feels like a gauntlet. Now, let me just give you an image of a gauntlet. Think of any Renaissance era movie. There's one I'm thinking of. I can't think. It has to do with a prince, or they're all about prince and princesses and things like that. But he's trying to prove his love for this woman. If you recognize this actor, he has a larger nose. He was really popular probably in the late 90s. Anyhow, I just can't think of his name, but I'm sure you know who he is. And his counterpart, I think Ormond is her last name. She has dark curly hair. So she makes like the quintessential European princess or queen. And he's walking in my mind. I can just picture the scene where he's walking this gauntlet. So it's raised up almost like a pier at a lake. And across this gauntlet, there are all sorts of knives that are swinging back and forth. And you have to like MacGyver your way through this without getting sliced or killed. And then they have some other padded type things that can come and just smack you down, and big gaps that you have to jump and everything. So there are all these different obstacles on a gauntlet, much like this. And yet, for some reason, we all safe, secure, smooth, and steady. And in reality, that's just never going to happen. I will say, I mean, it says that even I read my Bible, as you know, it's like, it says, hey, you know what? Hard times are going to come your way. It's okay. I mean, it says that kind of cover to cover in the Bible. So spoiler alert, right? Like life is going to have complications and challenges. Now, here's what I have found is that as we are building life, we are going to face all these challenges. And what it does is it really proves to us, how much do we believe in fill in your blank? Maybe you're chasing after, like, that blank might be an important relationship in your life. It might be something to do with your business. Maybe you're building a nonprofit. Maybe it has to do with your health habits. That blank can be so many different things that we're trying to build into our lives. When we're walking life's gauntlet, those things are tested and tried. We have to prove, do we really believe in the value of those? Do we believe in the merit of what we're pursuing? Are we deeply committed to that process? And are we willing to risk or sacrifice something for that blank, fill it in? I will tell you this, conscious investor, especially over the last few years, I have walked a powerful gauntlet in building out 3 Keys investments and the conscious investor. And for those of you who've been listening since the beginning, nearing episode 400, for those of you who've been listening since the beginning, you've watched the progression. You've watched me tripping forward. You've watched me figuring things out along the way. You've even watched the show transition from Ask Me How I Know Multifamily Stories of Success into the conscious investor. You've seen real time that evolution of me walking the gauntlet. Every step of the way has tested me, has tried me. Do I really want to do this? Is this really what I need to be doing? Is this really the best way for me to contribute to lives? And I just mentioned that because that might actually be resonating with you, with whatever your blank is. Because we're all going to face it in some part of our life. Now, here's the most exciting thing that I've noticed. And granted, I have faced a lot of other challenges over my entire lifetime, and especially during adulthood. And if you've been listening, you know I've faced extreme heartache. I've faced the loss of loved ones. I've faced a lot of different challenges. So I'm sympathetic and empathetic to those of us who are going through those tenuous times. And we just feel like we have tensile strength at the moment, right? It feels like, well, remember my daughter likes slime. And so like, imagine if you're pulling apart slime or Play-Doh and it has that snapping point where you just can't pull it any further. And it's not even going to be gooey like chocolate chip cookies, the chocolate just spreading apart. It's going to just snap. And maybe you're feeling like you're at that snapping point. I was actually talking to a business partner the other day, and we're building out substantial systems right now within the business. And it's requiring all hands on deck. And I mentioned to this business partner, I said, I feel really spread thin right now. Don't get me wrong. I've got bases loaded. I'm going to get everything done. I got to tell you, I'm definitely spread thin. But because I have this experience, because I've been through this, this is like I'm spread so thin. I've faced this before and I know this feeling. And I know that I've had a powerful outcome in the past. And so now being spread thin, it's not scary or nerve-wracking, a little bit exhausting, let's be real. But it's also, I know, okay, this is the point of growth. This moment right here, where I'm feeling the pressure, where I'm feeling the stretch, and I'm feeling like one of those blades on the gauntlet might just come and take me off the gauntlet. This is that moment, the precipice of everything that I want. This is a moment that leads into evolution and transformation. This is the moment that allows me to really refine what is important, what needs to stay within the company, within my life, within my family, whatever it is, whichever part of the gauntlet we're walking at the moment, right? It purifies it. So now I welcome it. It's like, oh, okay, let's do this gauntlet. Okay, we're spread thin. That's okay. It's sustainable. I know that it is not forever, right? It's not going to be, okay, I'm going to have to be on this part of the gauntlet forever. I know that there's going to be a point where I'm going to catch my breath. I know there's a point where all the systems are green lights, we're going, and now we're just in that sweet spot of being able to enjoy. We walked the gauntlet and we're on the other side and we can catch our breath. Being spread so thin, it really just proves to us what it is that we're really about, what it is that we are really pursuing, what it is we're really committed to. And most of all, is it essential? Is it necessary? We might adapt something. We might decide. Remember, I used to host the Impact Investing Network. I created it. I generated it. But I realized I was getting spread too thin and I needed to pivot. So sometimes we might just put something back on the shelf and say, this isn't the right time. I just got to put you back on the shelf. Or maybe I'm going to hand you over into someone else's care. And let's just face it, there are some things that we start out pursuing that we realize in hindsight, that just needs to be put away, if maybe put 6 feet under. Like, let's just bury that one. We learned from it. It was really helpful in that regard. And now it's time to move on. But this is where the icing on the cake is. And I want to encourage you to think about who you are walking the gauntlet with. Because when we are on the gauntlet and we already have that mindset of the gauntlet can be exhausting, I could be spread thin, but I also know that this is a beautiful process that's going to have a wonderful outcome. And now we get to look at who's walking in front of us, ahead of us, who's walking behind us, and who's walking beside us. Very rarely are we on the gauntlet alone. There are times where we have to walk solo. We've talked about that before. I've definitely done that, and it's also rewarding. But most of the time, we have someone ahead, behind, and beside us. So I want you to take a moment right now. Think about that. Whatever challenge you're facing, think about who's already done this, who's kind of just a little bit ahead of me in a similar situation that can be just that little beacon, that little glow of it's going to be okay. Maybe it's a role, turns into a role model of like, okay, if I can just mirror some of this in my own way, this is going to work out well. And maybe identify right now those people that are walking beside you, where it's like, I'm not in the trenches alone. I've got shoulder to shoulder action and our arms are linked up. And you know what? If one person goes down a little bit, we're all going to support each other and get each other back up. Who are those people in your life? Who's behind you? Who are you the role model for right now? Who's someone that you're going to encourage? Reach that arm out to and just say, you got this. And if they start to slip and fall, that you're going to help them back up. We have those people around us. I'll give you a little insight for me. As I was, reflecting on this specific topic for you, conscious investor, I was actually thinking, who is it that is ahead, beside, behind? Ahead of me, my faith is dear to me. And each day I start my day just saying surrendered, Lord, use this day. Show me how you want to use this day, this time, this gift of life. Then it's this beautiful thing. I like to read my Bible and I like to see, who are you, God? How do you show up for people? How do you show up for me? And so that is part of who's ahead of me. It's there's that beacon. Now I also feel like that my God is beside me also. And I also feel like my God is behind me. It's a pretty cool thing. When I think about who's ahead of me as humans, right? I am so grateful because I have just elite partners in my life. I've chosen wisely. If you listen long enough, conscious investor, I'm very particular about the general partners that I work with and the people I partner where they are decision makers. I'm very, very aware of who they are and what they're bringing to the table. And that has created this beautiful ecosystem where I have some naturally built-in role models. And that also puts some people that are naturally shoulder to shoulder with me. It's a little mix of both. I don't feel like any of my partners are behind me. I feel like most of the time I'm behind them because they're just so amazing. I think about my family and my husband and how beside each other we have been for almost 2 decades, right? I couldn't walk this gauntlet without that support or the support of my kids. Yeah, believe it or not, you've heard me talk about how little Miss was surprised when I told her she's an influence in my life, but also my kids encourage me. They're not upset with me that mom's building a business and that she supports people and she coaches and does these things. They actually encourage and find inspiration from it. Little Miss is always asking, more about investing. I don't know how long that will last. We are going into the teen years, but I will take it while we've got it. They're walking that gauntlet beside me. And think about who's behind you. I happen to be blessed with opportunities to encourage and support so many young investors, so many young entrepreneurs, young not meaning chrono age on the timeline, but young meaning they're just taking those first or very next steps on their journey. And it's so exciting. You see, we're not walking the gauntlet alone. And what is on the other side is so rewarding. And when we know who is walking the gauntlet around us, now we're able to walk with this tremendous amount of confidence. So I want to encourage you today, wherever you are at on that gauntlet, if you're ready to jump a gap, if you are feeling the brush of those blades right before your face, how there's just a little breeze, or you're just looking at these hammers that might come pounding down on you, you're going to be okay. You're going to find your way to the other side. And when you do, you're going to be all the better for it. Conscious investor, today, wherever you are on the gauntlet, if you're in the rest zone or in the trial zone, you're exactly where you need to be and you are prepared for it. I want to encourage you that you have everything that you need. It's already in you. In fact, you can't get to that crazy part of the gauntlet without actually getting there. You have taken steps in life that have prepared you for where you are. And it probably doesn't feel like you're ready for it. Most people don't just naturally take ginormous steps in life. Most people have to have some circumstances in their life that push them into that discomfort. Right now, there are a lot of layoffs that are taking place and lots of chatter about layoffs. For a lot of people, those layoffs are going to be that push that they need to take that leap that they've actually been capable of taking for years. But now, circumstantially, they're positioned be on that part of the gauntlet. You are prepared for where you are, and it shouldn't feel comfortable. The growth, the progression, the change, none of that ever happens within our comfort zone. So welcome that discomfort. Welcome that discomfort the way you welcome achy muscles from a good workout, because you know you're doing something that's healthy and good and it's going to build you up. You've got this, conscious investor. Your week ahead is going to be extraordinary because you are extraordinary and you have everything you need within you. Don't look to the world. Don't look to everything else around you to come and coddle you and to take care of you and to tell you you're really great. You know you are, and live it from the inside out. That's right. Lead that inside out life. Walk the gauntlet with confidence, and be sure that you are thanking those people that are walking that gauntlet with you, whether they're ahead, behind, or beside you. Make sure that you send them a quick text message or something today to let them know you value them, you appreciate them, and you're grateful for their support. Conscious investor, that's what I've got for you. I know this is launching your week in a powerful way. If you got something from this episode, would you please take just a moment? Go ahead, share it with somebody that you know needs this reminder, this encouragement, this inspiration, maybe even the challenge. Like, go ahead, walk the gauntlet. And as always, remember your reviews, they make all the difference in the world. So if you don't mind, take a moment, leave an honest review. Until next time, live big, love bigger, and do great things.
Are you enjoying this episode? Do the world a favor and help trip the algorithm by leaving a review so that this content reaches many others.